This is Mr. Winterston here with Iuniversity Prep, and today we're going to be looking at similar figures. The question we're going to answer is, are two figures similar? And to do that, we've got two questions to ask ourselves. The first of which is, are all of the angles the same for the figure? Also, are all of the sides proportionate? If the answer is yes for number 1 and number 2 on our checklist for similarity, then we know that the two figures are indeed similar. So we're taking a look at our first two figures, and this is our first example, and we're going to determine if these two figures are similar. So what we need to do is determine if all of the angles are indeed the same. Now if you look at it, you'll notice that D has three little lines through the corner or through that vertex, and that matches up with M. Also, if we keep on looking, you'll notice that C has two lines, and that matches up with L because L has two lines. If we look a little further, you'll notice that B matches with K, and lastly J matches with A. So yes, indeed, all of the angles are the same for the two figures. Remember, our checklist had two pieces. Are all the angles the same, and are the sides proportionate? So the angles are the same. All we have left to prove is whether or not the sides are proportionate. So now what we got to do again is prove if the sides are proportionate. Proportionate means that you can divide all the matching sides and you will always get the same number every single time. So what we're going to do is we have to find our matching sides first. So if we look at AD, you'll notice that that matches with side JM on the other figure. They are corresponding sides. So we're going to go ahead and divide 12 over 21. So remember, it means you can divide all the matching sides, and we will always, keyword always, get the same number. So 12 over 21, and we're going to see if that is equal to, let's look at a couple matching sides. Let's say DC. You'll notice that matches up with side LM. So is that the same as 8 over 14? And we're going to have to match that up with our next side, BC and KL. So looking at it, we've got BC is 8 and KL is 14, so 8 over 14. So that's a match. That was an easy one. And let's look at our last set of corresponding sides, AB and JK. So AB is 8, JK is 14. So 8 over 14, 8 over 14, 8 over 14, all those are obviously the same, but 12 over 21, is that the same or is it not? So for that last question, 12 over 21, is it the same as 8 over 14? We can take our calculator and we can go ahead and divide 12 over 21. That is 0.57. 8 over 14 is 0.57. So you know what? All of those numbers, when you divide them, give us the exact same decimal. So therefore, that means the two figures are similar. So yes, the two figures are similar. Again, found out the angles are matching, and found out when we divided all of the sides, we ended up with the exact same number in our calculator. So therefore, the figures are similar. Sides are proportionate, angles are the same. So next we're going to take a look at how to find the scale factor. If two figures are proportionate, then the number you get when you divide all the matching sides is called the scale factor. So remember, we did prove these two figures were similar. So all we got to do now is find what we get when we divide those two matching sides. So pick any two matching or corresponding sides and divide them. So in this case, 12 over 21, I'm just going to pick those two matching or corresponding sides. And the number we get when we reduce that is the scale factor. I mean, technically 12 over 21 could be considered the scale factor, but we could make that reduced by dividing the top and bottom by 3, giving us 4/7. That means that the smaller figure is 4/7 the size of the larger figure. So it's smaller, not quite as big, right around half the size. So what we're going to do now, and the last bit of new information you have to learn before we give you a couple examples, is how to write a similarity statement. If the figures are similar, we're going to write the vertices of both figures, that's the letters at the corners, so that the proportionate sides match. So for example, you're going to write 4 letters, polygon ABCD is similar, that little squiggle line right there means similar to FGHK. So let's take a look at ours too. It's not going to be ABCD and FGHK, it's going to be the letters we have. So I'm going to say polygon. You have to tell us what shape it is. It's a polygon. You could also say quadrilateral. And we're going to say polygon A, B, C, D is going to be similar to. And what is polygon ABCD similar to? Well, let's take a look. A is that right angle right there, and it matches up with J. So we're going to say polygon J, and then B matches up with K, so JK. The next letter was C, and C matches up with L, so we're going to write L. And the last letter is M. So polygon ABCD is similar to polygon JKLM. And there you go, you've written a similarity statement. So here's an example, our first example. We're actually going to work this one out together, and a series of questions related to this figure. Are the two figures similar, yes or no? If they are similar, what's the scale factor? And if they are similar, write a similarity statement. So are the two figures similar? Well, to do that, we need to first find out if all the angles match. Well, the angles obviously match because no matter which angle you're looking at, it's 90 degrees. So check for the angles, same angles, check. Now, proportionate sides. This one's a little bit tricky because one figure has been turned compared to the other figure, so we have to find out what sides match. Now, if you look at it, you'll notice that WXYZ is just the similar, it looks like it's basically the same shape as QRST, but it's been flipped over on its side. So it looks like 8 is going to match up with 6. And over here, 6 is going to match up with 3. And 8 again is going to match up with 6, and 6 is going to match up with 3. So if we divide those, 8 over 6, it has to be the same thing as 6 over 3. It has to be the same thing as 6 over 3. It has to be the same thing as 8 over 6. If we divide all of the corresponding sides, do we get the exact same number every single time? And you'll notice 8 over 6 is 4/3. And that does not match up with 6/3, which is 2. And 8 over 6 is 4/3. They don't match. They don't all match. So therefore, the two figures are not similar. You go ahead and try this one on your own. Pause the video, work it out, and press play when you're ready to see the answer. Are the two figures similar? Well, again, all the angles are the same, so angles are definitely a check. Now we just need to check and see if the sides are proportionate. So to do that, we need to divide the corresponding sides. So 48 is going to match up with, it looks like, 24. So 48 over 24. Is that going to be the same as, looks like 64 matches up with 32. So 64 over 32. Is that going to be the same thing as 48 over 24? And is that going to be the same thing as 64 over 32? Well, when we divide those, you can use your calculator. 48 over 24, 2 times as big. 64 over 32, 2 times as big. 48 over 24, 2 times as big. 64 over 32, 2 times as big. So you know what? The sides are proportionate and the angles are the same. Therefore, the figures are similar. So if they're similar, what is the scale factor? Well, the scale factor, we just got through finding it by dividing the corresponding sides. The scale factor is 2. And the last thing we're asked to do is, if they're similar, write a similarity statement. So a similarity statement just says we're going to find the matching angles and write them in order. So if I go RSTU, so we're going to say quadrilateral RSTU, is going to be similar to, well, R to S, that was our 64 side, that matched WX. So I'm going to write quadrilateral. I'm going to abbreviate that as quad. W, and then X, and RS. So we went S to T because it was RST. So WX, we're going to go from X to Y. That's the matching side is ST. So XY. And our last side has to be Z. So there's your similarity statement. Quadrilateral RS to U is similar to quadrilateral WXYZ.